Hi, I'm Davy Ward Erickson,
And I'm Alaina Salks.
and you are listening to Sex is Medicine, your number one resource for holistic sex education. Alaina and I are bringing you over 27 years of combined expertise in the field of holistic sexual wellness to help you integrate your body, mind, spirit, and sex.
New episodes drop every Thursday morning, so make sure to like and subscribe on all your favorite listening platforms. And make sure you follow Holistic Sexology Institute on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for your daily dose of Sex is Medicine. Now let's get started.
Hey, welcome back to Sex is Medicine. I am your host, Davy Ward Erickson.
And I'm Alaina Salks.
And together we are serving up over 27 years of combined expertise in the field of holistic sexual wellness to help you integrate your body, mind, spirit, and sex, and making sure that we are bringing you the most accurate and up-to-date information to set you up right so that you're not engaging in stuff that's gonna be detrimental to your well-being. And that's exactly why we're doing this episode that we have for you today. Because, as I said in our first reboot episode, Mama Davy's concerned about some of this stuff that's going on the internet, and some of these people that have platforms that aren't necessarily educated and informed to the degree that is necessary to be advising you about how to achieve your own sexual wellness, your own optimum sexual potential. So today we're going to be busting a myth for vagina owners all over the world. We've gotten this question through our decade of work together, and my 7 years before that. The question a lot is having to do with so to setting the stage. This is for vagina owners, V owners in relationships with male partners and heterosexual partnerships, though I will say that this also comes up in same-sex relationships for women, because we're talking about vaginas, and we're talking about, should you be able to feel your partner inside your vagina, or is it okay for your vagina to be numb? I'm going to say that again. Is it okay for your vagina to be numb? Hell fuck no. It is not okay for you to have a numb vagina. We absolutely not. And we're going to tell you why. And we're also going to tell you how you can awaken and activate and resensitize your vagina, because you are supposed to feel that. You should. Yes, you should be feeling your partner inside of you. And if you're not feeling your partner inside of you, it doesn't mean you need a new vibrator, my friends. That is not what you need to feel your partner inside of you. It does not mean you need a new vibrator. So I'm going to hand the mic over to Alaina, because she is going to break this shit down for us about why, yes, you should be feeling him in your vagina. So, Alaina.
Thank you, Davey. And so I'm going to play a video for us in a second. We're not going to have a hot take this week because the whole episode is the hot take. We came across this clip on Instagram a while back and shared it among our staff, and we were all enraged by it and knew that we needed to have an episode about it. So I'm going to share the clip with you, and we're going to listen to it, and then we're going to talk about it.
You were outraged. That is the motivation. We are outraged.
So here we go.
If you cannot feel your partner when they are inside of you, do not worry. That is extremely normal, because the inside of our V has almost no touch sensitive nerve endings. Only the first third part of the V is where you're going to feel any tingly sensation. That's why the key to Oing is playing with the C. The C has over 10,000 touch sensitive nerve endings, which is even more than the P. The C's only purpose on our body is for us to experience pleasure. So make sure you or your partner is playing with the C. And if you want to learn how to O, if you haven't experienced an O yet, comment learn below, and I will send you my workshop that teaches you, because every single person deserves to O.
Okay, so I'm just going to jump right in here if that's okay, Davey.
Take it before you start screaming.
So I just want to start by saying, um, okay, having a numb vagina, there's difference between normal and common. right? I think that's really the crux of this video for me. There's a difference between normal and common, right? It might be common for people not to be able to feel their partner or a toy inside them, but that does not necessarily make it normal, right? And I think for me, what's so important about that distinction is A, like we don't want to shame anyone, right? Like we don't want to shame anyone that doesn't experience sensation inside of their vagina. Uh, and I think what ends up happening is a lot of these folks, these influencers, these sex education people on Instagram, in an effort to like answer these questions and divert that shame, they actually rob people of the potential capacity for pleasure that they might have. Because while it can be common, you can change it. Sexuality is a skill, and it's the skill that can be developed and can grow and do all kinds of wonderful things. But I don't want to talk too much before getting your initial thoughts on this, Davy.
Well, so like you said, I think it's important to make a distinction between what is normal and what is common. So yes, it is very common for people with vaginas to not have much sensation in the vaginal canal, and there are multiple reasons for this. One of those reasons, yes, is a lower density of of pleasure, or nerve fibers, right? That's a lower density of those in the vaginal canal. But and at the same time, it's important to be aware of where the most nerve fibers are in the vagina. And not only do you have them in that first 1 to 3 inches, which is also where your erectile tissue is. This is where your genital anatomy is really, really important in understanding how it functions. Like we were talking in one of the other episodes, understanding how your genital anatomy functions is literally the key to bliss for you. For like you really, if you don't understand how your body works, you can't make it function optimally, right? So that first 1 to 3 inches of the vagina is surrounded by the internal erectile tissue, part of which is the clitoris. But the clitoris is not the totality of the erectile tissue. You also have your perineal sponge on the bottom end of your vagina that is a huge source of orgasm, the perineal sponge orgasms. And then you also have at the back of the vagina is highly and densely innervated with pressure sensitive nerve endings. And in fact, your cervix, yoni owners, your cervix is triple innervated with your vagus nerve, your hypogastric nerve, and your pelvic nerve. And so in this video, the young lady talked about how your clitoris has 10,000 nerve fibers. Your cervix has as many as 200,000 or more. So your cervix is actually the most densely innervated sexual pleasure center in your whole, sexual genital pleasure apparatus, shall we say. So your cervix has the potential to be even more fulfilling orgasms than your clitoris. But guess what happens to your cervix every time you go to the gyno and they don't recognize it as a pleasure zone, they traumatize it. Well, the result of trauma is numbness or pain. So if you have zero sensation in your cervix or pain in your cervix, it's because you've got trauma in your cervix as a result of going to the freaking doctor and God only knows what else, right? Because our entire culture, the Western culture in relationship to sexuality, is highly ignorant. It's highly misogynistic and highly ignorant. So they are not mainstream sexuality and mainstream, sexual whatever is not teaching you about your cervix being even more pleasurable potentially than your clitoris because they don't even know. They don't even know. We've actually had, I'm going on a rant here, but I'm going to continue on that rant. We've had medical professionals take our Tantra certification program and come out of it telling us that they learn more about human sexual functioning and human genital anatomy as we're wired for pleasure, human pleasure-based genital anatomy. They learn more from our training programs than they learned in medical school because medical school is not about pleasure. It's about identifying causes of pain, right? So these are my very long first responses. So first of all, I would say this is a perfect example of someone who is uneducated potentially. I'd like to know where they got their sex coaching license, What qualifies them to be offering sexual advice on the internet, aside from the fact that they're selling vibrators because they're the vibe slut. Apparently, that's their URL. So keep that in mind. Vibrator companies and sexual wellness experts are not necessarily on the same side. We're not necessarily on the same team. We say no to more vibrator invitations than we say yes to. In fact, I don't think we've said yes to any recently because of the detrimental effect that vibrators can have on your sexual response. They can be detrimental. We've got a Tantra Talks podcast episode that talks about the dangers of overusing your vibrator. They are something, they are to be used with caution, is what I would say. Use your vibrator with caution, right? So this person giving you this information on this video has a vested interest. Their motivation is not necessarily to help you experience sexual fulfillment and realization, though they market it that way. Their job is to sell you vibrators and orgasms. But what kind of orgasm and at what cost? And what is the quality of that orgasm? Because for those of you who have been listening to us for many years, and for those of you who are new to the show, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I cuss a lot. Women can have over 15 different types of orgasm. So when I was in my 20s and I was just becoming a little monk who was allowed to have sex because that was part of our tradition, and I could have my little clit orgasm. Like, I thought that was all there is. If I had my little genital sneeze, I was happy and I could go to sleep. And, I did not feel my partner inside my vagina, and I thought that was fine. I mean, most of the time I just felt some pain, and I was like, okay, you're supposed to feel pain. But he would, pump away for 5 minutes and have his orgasm, and I was a good girlfriend, and I was happy because I got his semen, and and now he'll stay with me because he got his nut, right? So I didn't know that I could have anything other than a genital sneeze if I was lucky. And sometimes I would have some great orgasms from some oral pleasure, oral clitoral pleasure. But I too had a numb vagina. I was from the numb vagina club. I too had a numb vagina, right? And so it wasn't until I was introduced to sexual tantra and introduced to the concept of trauma and body armoring and sexual trauma, and had embodied and visceral experiences of releasing trauma, going from numbness to pain to irritation to pleasure, right? Which is the way trauma resolves in the body. For those of you who aren't aware of that, that's the way the body de-armors and releases traumas, through the 4 stages of: first you're going to experience numbness. Then, as the numbness starts to dissolve, the freeze response in your nervous system starts to dissolve. You're going to experience pain. So once your hands are frozen, they start to thaw, and the energy comes back and the blood comes back. It hurts, and then it starts to tingle, pins and needles, irritation, and then there's function, right? So I had a personal visceral experience of going through vaginal numbness to vaginal pain to vaginal irritation to, oh my God, pleasure, and feeling the different areas of my vagina awaken, and the first spot to awaken, yes, was the G spot. Like, that first 1 to 3 inches, that was numb too. It was all numb. It was all numb. The whole thing was numb. I couldn't feel anything. I felt some like pressure, maybe, if I was lucky, right? So healing, each quadrant, shall we say, of the vagina, and having the actual embodied experience of sensation returning to my body. And when I had that experience, I was horrified. I was outraged, again, outraged. And I was so sad. I was so sad that I had spent 33 years of my life not knowing that that my body could produce this type of pleasure, that I had access to this type of pleasure, and that nobody had told me. And so that's part of why I'm horrified for all y'all young women on the internet that are willing to settle for this kind of shady, shitty ass sex advice that, like, oh, don't worry, your vagina, it's okay to be numb. No, it's not. It's not okay. And that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It actually, if we have a numb vagina, it actually means our bodies are working the way they were designed. It's actually a win for the team, right? We just need to understand how to reverse that process. And we can, because that's part of our birthright too. And the reclamation process is empowerment. Wouldn't you much rather heal and transform your vagina to awaken your vagina as a profound and powerful source of transformation, healing, and liberation, not just for you, but for every partner and your unborn children. Like, imagine your children passing through a fully awakened vaginal canal. Wow! They're being passed through the portal of enlightenment itself. Like, you deserve better. You deserve that. And that is your birthright. And that is your potential. And I want you to have that because you can. Because you can. Once you just need to believe that you can and have the right tools and methods, some of which we teach, some of which you can get elsewhere. Because this is really about reclaiming your connection to your own body. And you don't need anybody outside of you to do that. That's something you can do for yourself. Something you can do with yourself, with your own connection to your own beautiful body. So that is why we are doing this episode for you, because you deserve better than this shitty ass fucking information that's going to maybe not shame you. We're not trying to shame you. We're inviting you into your potential. We've been through this process and we've walked hundreds, if not thousands, of other women through this process. So we know it's possible and we know what's on the other side, and we want that for you. And it's a beautiful process that you deserve. You deserve this. You deserve to feel every throbbing pulse and pump of your partner in your pussy, girl. You do. It's beautiful. You don't want to miss that gift. And he doesn't want to miss that gift. You deserve it. So don't settle for this, like, oh, you don't have an. There are your cervix is more densely innervated than your clitoris. So go get that. Go get that. My chihuahua agrees. Tell it, money. So there's multiple reasons aside from trauma that you may not be feeling your partner inside of you. So I'm going to hand the mic back over to Alaina because she has a beautiful outline. She's a beautiful outline she's going to take us through. So take it, Alaina.
Okay, thank you, Davy. There's a few other things I just want to mention to just back up all of the beautiful, beautiful things you just said. Thank you so much for that wonderful first I guess reflection on the video that we just watched.
Rant. My first rant.
I love your rants. I love them so much. Never apologize for them. Um, so just again to reinforce what you said, just the clitoris is great. We love the clitoris, right? And as that young woman said in the video, so far as we know, its primary purpose is pleasure, right? So that this is not no shade to the clitoris at all. We love it. It's wonderful, wonderful organ capable of orgasm. Excuse my mouth. Um,
Go
but
clitoris, go. Go
go
clitoris,
clitoris.
go.
But people get hyper focused on the clitoris and the clitoral system, right? And I get it. Like I don't know if any of you out there have heard this like strangeness in the ether of like vaginal orgasms are superior, this and that. Like people seem to be responding to this idea that vaginal orgasms are somehow superior than clitoral orgasms, and that belief comes from a place, right? So Freud, our friend Freud, when he was formulating his theories, he's the first person to that we know of to say that the vaginal orgasm was more mature than the clitoral orgasm, and that women who had them were mature themselves more so than women who could not have them, right? And so basically, as we've gone through time, I have seen sex educators react to that shitty claim, and then go the complete opposite direction. And we'll talk about that more in another episode when we talk about, the clitoral urethral complex. But for now, just know that there's a backlash to that has gone too far, right? Because while we love the clitoris, it isn't the only source of orgasm. And we just want you to understand that your body is capable of so many wonderful, beautiful things, as Davy pointed out when she mapped all those different places that we have that innervation. And I want to go back very quickly to something I said before I pass the mic to Davy, which is this concept of sexuality as a skill. This is something that I talk about a lot with my students and something I like to reinforce over and over, and all of our people, really. And when I say sex is a skill, I'm not talking about it in the way that most people think. So a lot of people want to be good at sex, and so they think that means, knowing all of the best positions, knowing exactly how to please, this person or that person, and or they want to know all of the best techniques. And while techniques are wonderful, the real point of magic in our sexuality is connection, right? Connection to ourselves and connection to our partner, right? So when I say it's a skill, it's about learning yourself and it's about learning your partner and your partner learning you as well. And yes, that will involve education, right? But it also involves time and it involves practice,
And
right?
communication.
Communication.
Communication, which is like so difficult for folks to feel safe and comfortable doing often when it comes to our sexual interactions, just giving each other guidance, right? So I mean, I would often say like the way to what's the best way to give a woman the best orgasms of her life is listen to what she says, invite her to communicate with you, because we as women receive a lot of, at least in my generation, Gen X, I don't know if this is true for millennials and Zoomers, but we receive a lot of conditioning to not communicate about our pleasure during the act of pleasure, because we don't want to, hurt anyone's feelings, or, or egos, or we don't want to seem too experienced, or whatever the conditioning is. But if you're a listener and you ever hesitate to tell your partner, yes, that feels good with your words, or, oh, could you go a little softer, please? Or, oh, that doesn't, could you do this instead? If you ever hesitate to do that, chances are it's your cultural conditioning blocking you from communicating your truth, your sexual truth. So yeah, so there's a lot more that goes into good sex than just, having the right, squirting technique where you got to vibrate their G-spot really hard. Look, if I'm disassociated from my body, you can vibrate my G-spot all day long, I'm not squirting. If nobody's home, nothing's coming out.
Beautiful, Davy. Thank you. Um, so let's get into it.
Yeah.
So I want a quick start. I'm going to move around my outline a little bit, but I want to start by talking a little bit about nerve innervation because you started that conversation off beautifully, right? So as far as we understand it, Davy talked about, the first 2 to 3 inches having those touch sensitive nerves, and then the interior, inside, deeper in the vagina, they have nerves that experience deep pressure more readily, right? I also want to say that there isn't a whole lot of information out there as well about our nerves and our nerve density in our vagina. So before I got into this episode, I was doing a lot of research on different studies that were out there, and I found a lot of conflicting information. Uh, Sadly, I closed all my tabs, so I don't have them right up, but I'm gonna just paraphrase them from my memory for you. So one study that I found showed that there really wasn't much difference in nerve density throughout the inside of the vagina, right? There may be differences in the way nerves experience the stimulation, right? Because there's a number of different nerves that feed the vagina, like the pelvic nerve and the hypogastric complex. There's different players in there, and those nerves experience things a little bit differently. Some of them are parasympathetic, some of them are sympathetic. So there's a lot happening, but it is innervated in there.
Let me, can I pause you there? Let's outline. We teach that there's 4 different nerve pathways that innervate the genitals for women. So let's just outline those for people, because there's a lot of nerve conversation happening here. So with the clitoris and the external vulva area, and the external, your introitus and your anus and your perineal sponge area. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google a diagram, look at your parts, ladies. Know your parts, ladies. So all of that external vaginal or vulva, all the external vulvic area is innervated by your pudendal nerve, which means shame. It's innervated by your shame nerve, ladies. And men too have the pudendal nerve innervation. But then when you start to get into what's commonly referred to as the G spot and the inside of the vagina, and of course the cervix and the A spot and the P spot, which are the anterior fornix erogenous zone and the posterior fornix erogenous zone. We will link to a diagram so you can see our diagrams that we have designed for these. So when you're talking about inside there, then we have the pelvic nerve that comes into place. It comes into play, as well as the hypogastric nerve, specifically innervates the A spot, the P spot, and the cervix. And then, of course, the vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in the body and bypasses the spinal column, and that innervates specifically the cervix and the upper or back end of the vagina. And studies have shown that women with spinal cord injuries are still able to experience orgasm through cervical stimulation because of the vagus nerve, because the vagus nerve bypasses the spinal column. And I just want to say, this is how much nature loves us, ladies, that nature ensured that even if we have a spinal cord injury and cannot walk, bitch, you can still come. You can still have an orgasm from having your cervix stimulated, because God decided that no woman should go without orgasm, even if, like, you may not be able to walk, but bitch, you can come. I'm just saying. That doesn't say something about the priorities, about nature's priorities.
That's beautiful, Davy. Thank you so much. Yeah, so thank you for outlining those four nerve pathways. And yeah, we teach those in our courses, and all of our students teach those as well. And it's a beautiful way to understand that we are literally wired for pleasure. And there's still studies out there, medical documents out there that say that there are no nerves in the vaginal canal and attribute it to the birthing process, right? So there's a lot of bullshit out there, and it's really important that when you're when you're looking up these things, that you are really, really careful in what you're reading, and you think deeply about, how studies are conducted, if there are any references to the articles that are out there, and that you also just, more than anything, tune into your own body, and what feels like a yes or a no for you too, because you'll know in your mind and in your body, in your heart, if the information that's coming through doesn't sound quite right, and then you can investigate further, right? Um, so anything more on that, Davy?
Um, just that, also keeping in mind, like, what we call Western science is relatively new. It's only a few hundred years old, and that people all over, human beings all over the world, have been having, you know, experiences and practicing different forms of science that don't necessarily fit under the Western umbrella science. And the Western umbrella science is dominated by, has historically been dominated by white men with PhDs. No shade, I'm married to a white man with a PhD, but the view is limited. And it's also, misogyny is real. And it's only been in the last, several decades that female sexuality researchers are even a thing, right? Or even have voices to add to the conversation. So, I mean, I really consider Western science in relationship to sexuality pretty archaic. It's pretty archaic. And the people doing the studies are only looking through their own little tiny myopic lens, right? So there's, you can only study what you think of the study, and yet meanwhile there's this whole world of experience that they haven't even conceived of, so they're not studying it. So, I've seen, again, I talked about it, I think, in one of the first episodes of Sex is Medicine, how I was present for the transformation of, like, the vestibular bulbs to become the clitoral bulbs. Y'all, Western science changes so much, just decides, like, oh shit, that was wrong. This is actually true. Like, oh, sorry, that study was fucked up. So we're going to do a new one. So, like, really, none of this is carved in stone. This is, one of the researchers that I really love and respect, Beverly, she's one of the sexuality.
Whipple?
Yeah,
Whipple?
the Whipple, yeah, and Kamusarek, right? I mean, I can't say I love her, but I respect her work, right? So something that what makes me respect their work together is that they say the studies indicate that this may be the case. They don't say this is it, carved in stone, and this is gospel. They don't say it's gospel. They say, based on what we've observed, it indicates that this may be true, right? So, but at least, so it leaves the door open. It says, this is what we're seeing, this is what it indicates. Try it for yourself. Right? This is what we believe to be true, but it can change as more study occurs. So that's the important thing to keep in mind, particularly when it comes to sexuality research, because it's been such a misogynistically dominated field, I'll just say. And also, what are the bodies? The bodies are typically, in these studies, these bodies are typically white bodies. Well,
Mhm.
even though we're all human, our bodies respond differently to our environments, and our bodies respond differently to stress. And, we all have different cultures, and our bodies have accumulated stress intergenerationally in different ways due to the different environments in which we've existed. So, there's so many pieces to the puzzle. It's really dangerous to just do a cut and dry, this is the way it is all the time. So, anyway, that's another rant. Let me hand the mic back, or we're never going to get through this episode.
No, I love it. It's wonderful and juicy.
Just things to think about, y'all.
So moving on beyond nerve innervation, we also know that a lot of women and people who have vaginas are capable of vaginal orgasms. Another pet peeve of mine is sex educators saying that only like 18 to 20% of women experience vaginal orgasms. Most of those people don't know how to read. Read scientific articles. The study that seems to be the one that everyone's pointing to says something entirely different. So this is a US study from 2015. I'm pretty sure this is the one everyone's referencing because I couldn't find another. And the quote in it is, while 18% of women reported that intercourse alone was sufficient for orgasm, 36 reported clitoral stimulation was necessary for orgasm during intercourse. And an additional 36% indicated that while clitoral stimulation was not needed, their orgasms felt better if their clitoris is stimulated during intercourse. So that means people have said it's just 18%, but that second 36% is saying that they're having orgasms without their clitoris being stimulated, but that is really nice if it is.
Well, and I mean,
Right?
you can also add those to the 18%. Like, if you have the 36 to the 18, you have more,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Make me do math, but I could. But add the 36 to the 18, and you come up with
54.
woo! So
54%.
54, so more than not. Yeah, more than not. Yeah, and what I don't like is when these kind of things come out and folks use it as a weapon to be like, only 20% of women are having vaginal orgasms, so men need to do better. Look, we all need to do better. We are all miseducated. We all need actual accurate education that is motivated to support our liberation and our realization and our reclamation as humans. And a lot of the information that's out there is about selling you shit. It's about selling you shit. So,
Yep. And making you feel bad about yourself so you'll keep coming back.
oh, we want you to come back because you feel good about yourself. We want to help you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, we do. We do.
We do. And you never need to
So
buy anything from us to do that. We just want you to feel good about yourself.
exactly. Thank you, Davy. So so we have that study, but also we, with our combined years of expertise and in our work, know that people are very capable of having feeling in their vagina, and they're very capable of cultivating orgasm when there was none before. You've done it. I've done it too. I started out with a numb vagina as well and had to cultivate it through practice. And so let's move on to some talking about some solutions. So, Davy, I'm wondering if you would be, oh,
Do you?
what were you I was gonna say, I'm wondering if you would be open to answering, why do a lot of people feel numb or have blocks in their vagina?
Absolutely. And I wanted to, what did you just say before that? I was going to say one thing. Shit, fuck it.
Uh, about expertise that you can cultivate orgasm in the vagina? Nope.
Moving on. I'll let it go. We'll let it go. If it comes back like a little butterfly, I'll pick it up. Okay, so let's talk about the various reasons that you may not be able to feel your partner's penis inside your vagina. Let's just use the words that the algorithm hates. Your partner's pee inside your V, okay? Um, so the first reason for me that again chokes my chain, or just gets me in a little bit of a tizzy, is, y'all, it takes us 20 to 45 minutes for our internal erectile tissue to fully engorge. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to be penetrating somebody for 20 to 40 minutes before they feel anything. Doesn't mean you need to like go down on your partner for 20 to 40 minutes before she feel anything, though please do if you're inclined, please do. But what we're saying is that it takes 20 to 40 minutes of sustained arousal in order for her internal erectile tissue to fully engorge. So she can think herself into arousal, absolutely, 100%. Just like you gentlemen can think yourself into an erect penis, a woman can think herself into an erect vagina, right? And the more erect we are, the more our innie is erect, engorged, the more sensation we feel in our entire organ. So a lot of women are being penetrated before they have an erection. So y'all dudes, like if you think you have an outie, we've said this before, like the female body has more erectile tissue internally than the man has externally. So you have an outie, we have an innie, and our erectile tissue is dispersed in this like beautiful kind of lotus looking way, right? And so imagine if it takes you 20 to 45 minutes to achieve a full erection. We're not talking about, like a half erection. We're saying a full erection. It took 20 to 45 minutes. Dude, y'all would be going to the doctors popping pills. I'm just saying. You already are. You already are. If it takes you 25 minutes to get a full erection, you're like, what the fuck is wrong? Right? Right? But for us as women, that's the way our body works. It's this because it's inside, because it's this like, there's so much engorgement required. And it's like a slow kind of like, if you think of like a big pot on the stove with this low flame, it's going to take a while to get really hot. But then that shit's going to simmer all night. It's just going to stay hot for a very, very long time. And that is a woman's body. As we get engorged, our pot gets hot and it stays hot. It's like a cast iron pot. That shit's going to stay hot until the next day, right? Meanwhile, the way y'all are sexually trained in this culture, I'm saying sexually trained in this culture, particularly when you're trying to masturbate to porn as quickly and quietly as you can, you're training your whole sexual neural pathways to come as quick as you can. So the sex is over. First of all, you're penetrating her before she's ready to be penetrated. 9 times out of 10, unless you've learned differently, you're penetrating her before she's ready to be penetrated, number one. And number two, your pot's boiled over and her still getting warm up. She's like still lukewarm and you're done, right? So you, men, you need to learn to last longer. You need to learn to slow down. You need to learn how to let her pot warm up and simmer and stay like hot and full. You can give her all kinds of orgasms. There's 15 different orgasms you can choose from. Have an orgasm party. Give her all these orgasms just from yoni massage and yoni licking and yoni play and all that. And then you penetrate her after she's already had several internal orgasms. Then you penetrate her, which is actually going to help you last longer. And then you make love for 20, 40, 30, 60 minutes beyond that. Well, however the numbers go, just keep going, right? So the idea here is that the sex is over before she's even warmed up. That's the point of my big rant here. It's in heterosexual relationship dynamics, the sex is over and she's not even warmed up, right? So if she's not erect and engorged, she's not going to have as much sensation in her vagina. And this is just a fact. I've experimented with this shit because I'm like, am I saying is this really true? Yes, I've experimented with this to find out. And yes, I can attest to this, and so can multiple students. We have so much more sensation in our vagina if we have been warmed up, so to speak, for 20 minutes before penetration. 30 minutes, yes, before penetration, there's so much more sensation. The other thing, as I said before, is trauma. We hold trauma in the body. And at least 1 in 3 women has experienced some form of sexual trauma. Okay? So, and whether that is direct physical trauma or it's verbal trauma from living in a culture that teaches us that says all kinds of horrible things about vaginas and vagina owners, right? So how our nervous system responds to that toxic stress affects, shall I say, how we're able to respond sexually in the moment. And so for sexual trauma, it lodges in the sexual organs, right? And so, for those of us who are survivors of early childhood sexual trauma, there's a healing and a reparation process that many of us have had to go through and continue to go through because there's layers to trauma. And for those who maybe haven't experienced a direct physical assault, who may have psychological or emotional traumas, or even just, in working with clients for, again, 17 years, For most folks, the way we view trauma is as it's shock trauma. You know, it's like a massive violent incident, like I was raped or I was assaulted. That's a shock trauma, right? So that's a one incident trauma. But trauma is also cumulative. So, growing up in a society that tells you that you're ugly or you're undesirable or you're not as good as or you're stinky or you're funky or there's something wrong with you or you're inferior or you're less than or you're not okay or your sexual orientation is not okay. All of that is psychic trauma. It's psychic trauma. And so it may not be a one-time overt physical act, but it is a cumulative, it's a cumulative event that does store in our bodies and it does affect our nervous system, right? And also, we're talking about sexual trauma, but there's also the fucking trauma of life, y'all. And like, I did not come up on the, top of the food chain. I came up through struggle. I came up from fucking suffering. Like I had to rebirth myself like so many times. And I know many of our listeners, like, it's hard out here on these streets. There's a lot of shit going down. There's intentional suffering being inflicted upon multiple people, and this is not new, but the intensity has increased. And so do not discount the impact of toxic stress of our fucking culture, of our society. Our society is like just one big fucking toxic stress bloom right now. So don't discount the impact of that on your nervous system, and that is absolutely going to affect your sensitivity, your sensation, and your ability to respond. So this is why, to Elena's point, has she's made so many times in so many of these episodes, we say that the goal of tantra is connection. I'm just going to say that the goal of human sexuality, where it starts, is your connection. If you're not connected to yourself and you're not connected to each other, you're not connected to life, and you're not connected to like the whole intention and purpose of human sexual activity, which is to build upon, foster, and increase that sense of connection with ourselves, each other, and our environment. And so the place to begin in de-armoring your vagina and creating more sensation in your vagina is connection to yourself, to your beautiful, beautiful body, to your beautiful, beautiful yoni, because she's telling you a story. What is she saying? And then to this beautiful human being that you're choosing to be this intimate with. That's the place. That's where de-armoring starts. It starts in the heart, and then it trickles down to your yoni. That's what I have to say about it.
Oh, that was beautiful, Davy. And th I second all of that. And also, I wanted to add that lack of education is a huge component as well, right? So, um, just not even really understanding how our body works. I think you did talk about that a little bit earlier, but also not knowing that we have a right to masturbate and that this is the point of connection for our sexual being that will allow us to connect to ourselves and to explore what our bodies are capable of doing. And then when we're there, what do we actually do in our masturbation practice to facilitate greater pleasure and expansion and arousal so that we are able to experience all of these wonderful different flavors of orgasm and pleasure? And
And I
there's
just
a
want
lot
to
that
say that
good.
about masturbation, just how empowering it is, y'all. I just want to say this about like, as a woman, as a yoni owner, like the empowerment that comes from being able to awaken my own vagina has been such a huge reclamation. Like, yes, your partner, and yes, like we're not isolated and blah blah blah. Healing doesn't occur in isolation. But some things are just like you just need to be with your own precious little self and go into your own little nooks and crannies, like literally and figuratively, and just be with yourself, and then move through this process of moving through like numbness to irritation to pain and the emotions that like are stimulated from that, and then being able to breathe and relax through that to the other side, to where it blossoms into like, oh my god, like toe curling mind blowing orgasms. And like, you did that, You did that for yourself, and the confidence that that instills. And then you get to like bring that like whole vagina to your partner and like, yeah, look, I did this. Like my whole relationship to partnership shifted. It transformed tremendously when I became responsible for my own orgasm and I knew that I could give myself better orgasms than any dude off the street, any dude at the club, any dude on Tinder, whatever. Like when I became my primary source of mind-blowing orgasms, I was like, what you got for me? You know, like dating was totally different. I was like, okay, what's in it for me? Like, I know what's in it for you because I got skills, but what's in it for me? Like, are you gonna blow my mind? Can you do better than I can do myself? Can you do me better than I can do myself? And for a lot, no, no. So there was a lot of, heterosexual intercourse that was missed for many people because I could do a better job on myself because that is empowerment. So I'm not reliant or dependent on somebody else who maybe is not trained or developed. I don't have to sell myself short because I am empowered in my own orgasm. And then when I encountered a partner or partners who maybe they didn't know everything, but they wanted to learn and they were as invested in my pleasure and orgasm as I was, and I was as invested in their pleasure and orgasm as they were, like that's a match right there. That's a
Mm-hmm.
match. So,
Beautiful.
yeah.
So, for all of you out there, if any of you are wanting to awaken your vagina, the next question is, how do you do that? And so we've hinted at a lot of it here, but just like what we were just saying, you want to start by cultivating a masturbation practice. And when we say that, we don't mean like you're just gonna like quick go into a room and hide and like rub on your clitoris and have a really fast orgasm and then that's it and you're done. Or you do that at the end of the night in order to go to sleep. Or when you're stressed, you just go quick have an orgasm and then you're done. We're talking about an intentional masturbation practice that it's like a date you set with yourself in order to love yourself and explore your pleasure. And you want to give yourself time to do that. It needs to be more than 10 minutes, right? It could be 20 minutes, it could be 30 minutes, it could be an hour, it could be more. But you really want to set that aside, put it in your calendar, and practice masturbating on a regular basis. And then when you're there, oh, sorry, did you have something
No,
to add to
go.
that
No,
too?
no, go on. I'm like, I'm loving it. I'm just like, ooh, I'm over here dancing.
Yeah, yeah. And so when you're there in your masturbation practice, that's going to do two things. A, you're going to really get a chance to revel in your pleasure and explore your pleasure and really give your body that time to become aroused, like Davey was talking about before, that 20 to 40 minutes that you need to become fully aroused. And two, you're also going to explore what parts of your body are numb or irritated. Or feel pain. And that's where you have the opportunity to really stay with those parts of the body, focus on them, and kind of use your breath and your awareness and your relaxation to stay with them and give them a chance to release from your body. So we're healing and we're pleasuring in those practices. And those two things together are going to move you closer and closer and closer to having vaginal orgasms if you want them.
Having all kinds of sensation in
All
your
kinds.
vagina. And let me tell you, there is like for your male partner to put his guys, and I've heard this from so many men, okay? So I've heard this from so many men. There is a tangible difference for them to put their vajra, their penis, in a wholly healed vagina versus a vagina that's still numb, right? And so again, not shade, there's no shade because we are conditioned to numbness in so many ways, not just for our vaginas. Our spirits are conditioned to numbness. We are conditioned to numbness in this culture, right? So this is why we have to, take initiative to heal and awaken. That's why. And the other thing is that penises are like antennas. They're sensitive to energy. And so for a man who has an awakened a vajra, who's transformed his penis into a vajra, a healing tool, a divine thunderbolt of wisdom, for a tantric male, they can sense and feel when they enter a woman who has a healed vagina and an awakened vagina versus a vagina that needs some healing. And no shade, because that it's a beautiful thing to have a vagina that needs healing. And that's one of the beautiful things that our Vajra owners who are, who have realized, this is why when men are sexually awakened and sexually realized, they become healers and they can assist in that process, right? They can assist in that practice. And this is where we get to be responsible for our own healing, ladies. Like, I de-armored my pussy. I did that. I did that. And yes, I had a little help from some friends along the way, women and men, little help from our friends. And I know that I am my primary source of empowerment and healing. I know that if there's something that comes up, I can work with it. I can deal it. I can heal and transform it myself. And then if I need support, I can ask for that support because I've healed those obstacles to me asking for support, right? So that's why we're sharing this with you, is because we want you to be empowered. We want you deserve more than a vagina. Don't let these women who have unactualized vaginas on the internet try and enable you to, like, what is it, that codependency where it's like, no, we can just both stay stuck. No, we'll just you deserve better than that type of relationship with your Instagram providers. You do. So don't let these people on the internet, like, whatever, pat you into complacency, invite you into complacency. There's so much more for you. And when you have a healthy, healed, and awakened vagina, you have a healthy, healed, and awakened life. And like, people can't fucking gaslight you, and they just can't they can't like bullshit you anymore, and they can't take advantage of you anymore. And your boundaries are better. Like, this is all my experience and the experience of our students, but it's the truth. It's the truth. And the confusion, like, it goes away. Like, you are anchored, you are rooted in your own beingness, as your own source of power and orgasm. You deserve this. This is you.
Yeah, thank you, Daisy. So, so cultivating orgasm inside the vagina or pleasure inside the vagina. So we talked about the masturbation practice and setting up the date, right? So once you're there, you're at the date now. What are we gonna do? So you want to set a good period of time. We talked about like anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour to just have this time to yourself. And then you really want to be intentional about it. You want to set your space beautifully so that it's pretty and calm and relaxing. And as you start your practice, you really want to relax and breathe before you even begin to touch your body. And then as you go through the process, you want to breathe and explore and really follow the pleasure before you even get into touching your vagina, right? And this is one of the places where your clitoris really stands out, is that you can be playing with your clitoris. Again, for this, I would recommend not using a vibrator, but you can be playing with and stimulating your clitoris and bringing your arousal up, which will increase your engorgement. And once your arousal's up, you can start playing inside your vagina. You'll need some tools for that, most likely, like a G-spot massager and a dildo, but then you can just get your arousal up and start to explore and play and see what feels good. And if you run into anything that is painful, numb, or irritated, you can just stop there and breathe and let it move through you and move out.
And if you want more support with this, we are in 2026 releasing a series of courses to support you in these deep internal healing methods. In the meantime, we have our Tantra Healing for Couples programs, which is a great place to get you started. But for these tantric masturbation practices, which are they're deep and profound and require more space and more presence, we will be releasing a series of classes to support you in that. But I do wanna circle back to the discussion about using tools internally. I'm going to
Yeah.
say that I highly recommend not using vibrating tools inside your vagina for this purpose. The reason is that the electronic vibration disturbs your downward voiding winds, and it can actually interfere with the healing process. That's just what I've observed and experienced and encountered over 17 years of dedicated practice. I highly recommend against using vibrating tools inside your vagina for these specific practices. So we have tools on our old website. I don't know if they're going to go to our new website, but we highly recommend like honey dipper wands. Highly recommend like the crystal wands and chakra rubs or whatever those are, whatever. There's like various kinds of them, but highly recommend or glass, or even metal, whatever substance you like feels good for you. I'm not really particular about the substance. Just make sure it's safe for your body. It's not going to leak. I don't recommend like using regular plastic, right? Be mindful of body safe. Use like medical grade silicone, glass, metal, stuff that's non-porous. We'll say non-porous stuff, right? Highly recommend non-vibrating, non-porous objects to use inside all of your orifices for healing, because anal healing's a thing too. That anus needs some healing too. So we'll talk about that on our anal pleasure episode. Um, but yeah, in terms of going through the healing process, what Alaina described is essentially in a nutshell, an abbreviated version of what we teach. And if you want support and guidance, we will be releasing a series of courses for you in 2026 to support you all in that. So let us know. Make sure you sign up for the Sex is Medicine weekly doses so that you're up to date on all of our event announcements. But also, if you want that type of course, let us know, because we are here to serve you. This is our job, to support you in your holistic sexual wellness and holistic sexual healing. So let us know what you want, and we'll create it for you. We have 27 years of combined expertise, yo. We've got like almost infinite shit we can share with you.
It's beautiful. Yeah. And the last thing I want to say about this is that in addition to having your masturbation practice, it's also really great for you to communicate with your partner about this journey that you're on, that you want to expand your sensation in your vagina, and just talk about that with your partner and talk about the need to slow down, explore, and play when you're, having sex with your partner so that you can create that space to expand.
Yes, beautiful. And also in our Tantra Healing for Couples program. Hold on. Can you guys hear that chihuahua? Can you hear my chihuahua?
I
No.
can
Oh,
hear
you
your
can't hear the
chihuahua.
chihuahua. Okay, so he's just loud in my ear. Good. That's good to know you guys can't hear the chihuahua. So what I was going to say is in our Tantra Healing for Couples program coming in 2026, we'll also be breaking down how to move through healing blocks to bliss and move through awakening the vagina for its ultimate sexual pleasure potential as a couple. So we got you. We got you to support you in this process. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Alaina. That was very deep. I just want to say that, like, I kept going on these little rants because I thought you were done. And I'm like, okay, we're closing out the show. And then you'd be like, actually, so, so, pardon all my interjection, my rants that I went on while you're trying to break down how to heal your vagina, give people actual tools. Not going on tangents.
I love your tangents.
Tools to
I know.
tangents. There we go. That's tools
But
and
that's it. That's what I have for today. We could go on and on and on about this subject, but I think for now, that's a good place to close.
That's a good place to close. Yay. All right. So thank you everybody for staying with us. We know these episodes are long. We have so much to say. I really love listening to this when I'm cleaning. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to invite you to like put on your earbuds or your headphones and clean your house or go for a walk or whatever you're going to do and listen to these episodes, because we are trying to educate you all. And educate you all. So make sure you do all the things. Sign up for Holistic Sex is Medicine Updates, your weekly dose of sex is medicine, holisticsexualtyinstitute.com. You can go there and right there on the home page, or you can go to the podcast page, podcast, and you can sign up for your weekly dose of sex is medicine. Follow us on Instagram for your daily dose. We're putting out daily doses of sex is medicine on Instagram. And then make sure you click like and subscribe and leave us comments. What do y'all think? We love interacting with you. And also send us your questions at questions@holisticsexualtyinstitute.com. All right, mi amigos, los amigos, muchas gracias por escuchar le podcast. Hoy, I hope I said that right. Sorry if I didn't. And we will see you next week for another episode of Sex is Medicine Reboot. Woohoo!
You've been listening to Sex is Medicine, your number one resource for holistic sex education.
Make sure you like and subscribe to Sex is Medicine on all your listening platforms and follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, where you can get your daily dose of Sex is Medicine videos and episode recaps. Also, make sure you register for your weekly dose of Sex is Medicine at holisticsexologyinstitute.com and send us your questions, please, at questions@holisticsexologyinstitute.com. Thank you so much for listening to Sex is Medicine.